Good afternoon. Throughout Megan's life, before she became a distinguished and admired professor of finance, I'm going to do this, at the University of Oregon, before Evan and Lewis were even a glint in her eye, before she could imagine the amazing complement of life and love and work that she would share with Wayne over 25 years together, Megan was a Partch girl. She was the second of 4 daughters born to John and Marion Partch, the first Elizabeth Anderson, the third Barbara Rupert, and the youngest Laura Partch. Ours was a typical middle-class family raised in the suburbs of Cleveland, Ohio. We had at least our fair share of frictions and frustrations that seem to accompany family life. There were also many wonderful pieces of our lives together, a few of which we'd like to share with you today. Our parents were both born in the small Welsh farming community of Gomer, located in northwestern Ohio. The family farm and concentration of relatives in the area drew us frequently to this tiny, welcoming corner of the world where everybody playing croquet, milking cows, playing in the barn and the hayloft. All of these were highlights of summer visits and family celebrations. And it wasn't just the being there that was special. It was getting there, too. You can do it. This was, of course, before the days of CD players, reliable car radios, even seatbelts. But our parents were singers, and they taught their daughters well. During the hours spent driving through small Ohio towns and countryside, our parents passed on a sophisticated repertoire of car songs, complete with rounds, parts, and harmonies that served to pass the time. I like to say, as the youngest, I'm obviously the most sensitive to this, but I tell my friends that in the sing a part by yourself, and you didn't get stuck with mom and dad, which I did a lot. So it was the car songs and the cow game. And if you're interested in the cow game rules, just ask a Partch girl.
Another wonderful piece of our childhood was our home on Richmond Road. Now, between 2 neighboring houses was a small pond, and each winter we waited for Mr. Wallace, frozen and the ice ready for skating. So on many a winter day, we would bundle up, walk gingerly on our skates to the small hill leading down to the pond, slide down and skate, and skate, and skate. Looking back as parents, we're not sure who had enjoyed that time more, us or our mother. In any event, it may have been experiences like this, along with all the picnics and the hikes and the camping, that led to a love of the outdoors, which Megan shared with Wayne, and it's a love they passed on to Evan and Lewis. In Cleveland, life with a family of 6 was no doubt a constant flurry of activities, some hits and some misses. One story Megan liked to recall was of the time our mother gave her a home perm that smelled so bad she got to stay home from church. Now, Megan's interested in hearing a lot about, well, that was obvious early on. We don't suppose our mother took it as a compliment when Megan, after sitting down at the lunch table and surveying the meal before her, asked, "What's for dinner?" Or while eyeing the dinner fare, asked, "What's for breakfast?" We all benefited from her discerning palate when Megan, about age 17, took over family dinner preparation. Now, Elizabeth recalls it. Elizabeth happily figured would come back in style eventually. Perhaps this was the beginning of Megan's career in finance. Or maybe she missed a promising opportunity in sales. You can imagine that Megan excelled in high school. So much so, according to our mother, that by her junior year, she was. In an effort to survive her senior year, Megan begged to host a foreign exchange student. Our parents were not convinced. They did, after all, have their hands pretty full But Megan was persistent, very persistent. So in the summer of 1966, we welcomed Maria Luisa Falcao from Brazil into our home. Known to us as Pino, she enriched our lives that year and beyond. I knew this would be the tough part. Because that connection continued. While Megan was studying at the University of Wisconsin, Pino brought her husband and 3 young sons to Madison, where she obtained a PhD in economics. 6 years ago, Pino joined us to celebrate our mother's 80th birthday, and we are so touched that she's here with us today.
After Megan left to attend Carleton College, there were many comings and goings. In the 70s, our parents and then Laura moved to California. So when Megan moved to Oregon in 1981, she solidified the West Coast contingent of our now growing Partch family. As each of us began raising families of our own, the bonds between us, while occasionally stretched, continued to grow and were very strong. When our children were younger, we managed to pull off several Partch family reunions. But as time passed and they got older and scheduling became much more complicated, we came to value the opportunity for sister-only events, which always included our 5th sister, our cousin Sandy Jones. This past May, we gathered for a weekend in Washington, D.C. to celebrate my 60th birthday. That was our last. As was her way, she rallied and allowed us to treasure that time together. I felt that Megan especially liked these sister-only events, partially because our family had grown so large that it was a big group, and the smaller group of just the sisters was sort of just right for her. It's been wonderful for us all over the past day, especially today, to get a stronger sense of Megan's extended community of friends and colleagues. We're deeply touched by this incredible outpouring of love and affection for Megan. And I'm especially fascinated that Megan was such a quiet and private person, and yet, through her own ways, she managed to make such a large impact on so many lives and on the community here. And attention to each person. Like many of you, we will miss so many things about Megan. Her devotion to family and friends, her support, her dedication to detail no matter what the task, her jam, her wonderful jam. The birthday cards and holiday gifts that always arrived on time and usually early. But I won't mention names. The recipes and the books she shared, her expressions, her laughter, and her mannerisms. All that was Megan. We really appreciate the opportunity to celebrate her life with all of you. Thank you.